Good day, ma'am. Good day, classmates. So our topic for today is all about Constitution of La Liga Filipina. So what is La Liga Filipina? La Liga Filipina, a progressive organization founded and created by Dr. Jose Rizal in the Philippines, in the house of Doroteo Ong Huangco at Laya Street, Tondo, Manila, in July 3, 1892. Rizal thought of organizing the League when he was at Hong Kong. With the help of Jose Basa, he wrote the Constitution of the League. Some of the known members were Andres Bonifacio, Diodato Arellano, and Apolinario Mabini. Some facts about the League. It was derived from the La Solidaridad and the propaganda movement. The purpose of this league is to build a new group seek to involve the people directly in the reform movement. It had no intention of rising up in aims against the government. The league was to be a sort of mutual aid and self-help society, dispensing scholarship funds and legal aid, loaning capital, and setting up cooperatives. And the Spanish authorities realized that the league was becoming a threat to their occupation, so they arrested Rizal on July 6, 1892. They resulted to his departure to the Pitan. At first, the Lega was quite active. Bonifacio in particular exerted great efforts to organize chapters in various districts of Manila. A few months later, however, the Supreme Council of the Liga dissolved the society. The reformist leaders found out that lots of the popular councils which Bonifacio had organized were no longer willing to send funds to Madrid propagandists because, like Bonifacio, they had become convinced that peaceful agitation for reforms was futile. Afraid that more radical rank and file members captured the organization and unwilling to involve themselves in an enterprise which would surely invite reprisals from the authorities, the leaders of the Liga opted for dissolution. Why was it organized? Solution: to stop the opposition of the Filipinos against the Spaniards, to protect the Filipino people, to avoid the abuse of the Spaniards, and most especially to unite the Filipinos. Rizal hopes that in creating La Liga Filipina, it would put a stop to abusive Spanish rule. Aims of the League: union of the archipelago into the compact, vigorous and homogeneous body, mutual protection in all cases of pressing necessity, defense against all violence and injustice, encouragement of education, agriculture, and commerce, study and application of reforms. Why the propaganda movement failed? The colonial government did not agree to any of its demands. Spain itself was undergoing a lot of internal problems all the time, which could explain why it failed to heed the Filipinos' petitions. The friars, on the other hand, were at the height of their power and displayed even more arrogance in flaunting their influence. They had neither the time nor the desire to listen to the voice of the people. Many of the reformists showed a deep love for their country, although they still failed to maintain a united front. Because most of them belonged to the upper middle class, they had no exercise caution in order to safeguard their wealth and other private interests. Personal differences and petty quarrels, apart from the lack of funds, were also hindrance to the movement's success. Lastly, no other strong and charismatic leader emerged from the group aside from Jose Rizal. Official duties of executive board members. The duties and powers of the President is specifically catering to the organization's external affairs. The duties and powers of the Vice President is specifically catered towards internal affairs. The duties and powers of the Secretary is oversees all media production and official documentation. The duties and powers of the Treasurer is controls all financial and budgetary aspects of the organizations. The duties and powers of the Public Relations Officer is responsible for the social media advertising aspects of Liga. The duties and powers of the Cultural Chair is responsible for guiding all events including cultural shows, workshops, seminars, and programs. Official duties of the Board Directors. The duties and powers of the Community Service Director is responsible for establishing a community service event. The duties and powers of the Fine Directors is responsible for establishing fine in the School of Community if at all possible for all information concerning to Fine National. The duties and powers of the Sports Chair Director is for creating sporting activities that the organization desires to participate in Workshop Director is works in conjunction with the Cultural Officer in establishing workshops that will educate the community on Filipino culture. The duties and powers of the Social Chair is works in conjunction with the Personal Relation Officer in contacting and informing the school community the organization's upcoming events. Political Chair was responsible for receiving information on the Students Association, other organization on campus. Vacancies of the office. If any vacancy in office occurs, the Executive Board will be responsible in appointing an individual that is qualified for the position. If a qualified individual cannot fill the position, the duties of that position would be divided among the rest of the Executive Board. Impeachment of officers, removal of directors, and rules of succession. Impeachment applies to any member of the Executive Board. Removal applies to directorships. Vacancies produced by resignation or impeachment shall be filled through the appointment of a member of Liga Filipina by the Executive Board on the interim basis. General elections. The general elections shall be held during the next general meeting of the spring term. Any member of Liga Filipina is eligible to vote and be nominated. Candidates must be nominated by a card-carrying member and seconded by two others. The Executive Board shall be elected by a majority of the voting members present. The Vice President shall run the elections. Nomination shall take place one general meeting before elections. Constitutional amendment. All prospective amendments must be written and submitted to an officer at a general meeting. The Executive Board will be responsible for looking over the voting on the Constitution. The Executive Board will be responsible for the rewarding of the amendments for the Constitution. If the Executive Board feels the amendment, the membership then votes. 3/4 of the quorum passes the amendment. The Secretary will be in charge of the addition of the amendment to the Constitution to the Student Association. That's all.